This episode is brought to you by 20th Century Studios' upcoming comedy, Ella McKay. From Academy Award-winning writer-director James L. Brooks, Emma Mackey plays Ella McKay, an idealistic young woman who juggles family and work in a story about the people you love and how to survive them. Featuring an all-star cast including Jamie Lee Curtis, Jack Lowden, Kumail Nanjiani, Io Adebri, Julie Kavner, with Albert Brooks and Woody Harrelson. Ella McKay, in theaters December 12.
REI Co-op presents a perfect outdoor moment with the perfect gift. Picture this. You're ripping with your favorite person. Bluebird skies, blower powder, and frankly, you're skiing like legends.
So sick. Another lap?
Thanks to REI's curation, from lid to sticks, you nailed the gift.
No way. How'd you know?
Does it get more perfect than that? Give without guessing. Shop in store or visit rei.com.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. New players, new games, new rules. Squid Game, The Challenge returns for a gripping second season. 456 contestants from all walks of life, competing in the ultimate test of strategy, alliances, and endurance. For a life-changing prize of $4.56 million. With stakes this high, why make friends when you can make millions? Catch up on the latest episodes, now playing only on Netflix.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana makes car selling fast and easy from start to finish. Enter your license plate or VIN and get a real offer in seconds, down to the penny. If you accept, Carvana will come pick up your car from your driveway. Or you can drop it off at one of our car vending machines. Either way, you get paid instantly. It's fast, transparent, and 100% online. Car selling that saves your time. That's Carvana.
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
You don't technically need this car. You say that out loud to yourself. You say, I have no space. You say, I'm just looking. Then you click. Then you zoom in on photo number 87 and whisper, oh no. Then you text a friend, the one who always enables you. You say to yourself, this is the last one, knowing it is not. You don't need this car. But maybe, just maybe, this car needs you. Bring a trailer. It's never just a car.
All right, Duke fans, welcome to episode 771 of the Duke Basketball Roundup. Jason and Donald here for you. We're just going to be fully honest and tell you that we've just spent 15 minutes working on microphones, internet connections, all that other fun stuff. If we sound funky, if we break up, we're sorry. You know, there are limits to our ability to control the technology. Donald, you've been a traveling fool lately. Where are you today?
I'm home. I got home like an hour and a half ago. So I'm back in DC. Naturally, everything, because I've been gone for a few days, everything in my apartment has decided to update itself. So while Jason was having some technical issues, we almost got those fixed, and then my technical issues started. So it's been a comedy of errors since I got home.
Yes, we wouldn't have it any other way here on the DBR podcast.
Hey, better now than last night, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. We're in a good mood. We're in a good mood today because we're coming off a victory by the Blue Devils, and that is what we are here to talk about. The Duke Blue Devils beat Kansas 78-66, 12-point victory. Donald, I noted to someone last night, some of my friends, this was a 11 and a half point line. When Darren Peterson was confirmed that Darren Peterson would not be playing, the line went from about 7.5 to like 11 almost instantly.
Yeah.
and Duke in the final seconds got some free throws and some stops, and as a result, they managed to cover the 11 and a half point line by winning by 12.
I want to know, whoever does this in Vegas, and you don't have to reveal yourself, I just want to know where the time machine is. That's all I want to know. Where is the time machine that allows you to go back and set these lines the way that you do? And more specifically, why sometimes you decide to throw us off the scent by making some lines that don't make any sense, that turn out to not be true. But for Duke so far, we've been covering the spread, and this one was just like the way that when we hit 11 and a half, I think you, me, and Scott were like, 11 and a half, that, that's Vegas must know something. They did, because we won by 12.
Exactly. All right, so let's get to what we always start our recaps with, and that is the headlines. Donald, I'm going to go ahead and say it. You know, I think it was on the last episode that we did a recap. You said, we love alliteration. Oh, my God. The amount of folks who sent us alliteration headlines was just off the charts on this one. Folks, if we don't read your headline, it is because you probably put in too much alliteration. But I'm going to try one. This is going to be a difficult one. I'm going to begin with Corbin Vandeweghe. Oh, boy. All right. Deep breath. Are we ready? Corbin Vandeweghe's headline. In Battle of Blue Bloods, Booze Brothers beast. God, I messed it up. One more time.
Do it live.
I'm doing it. It's going to come out right now. In Battle of Blue Bloods, Booze Brothers best beast mode Badunga as Duke's Devils defeat Diaper Dandy deficient defenders. Oh my God. I can't believe it only took me 2 tries to do that.
I will do this first alliteration, and it's from Jim Baumgartner, and he had no tiptoe through the tulips, but Evans triple triggers triumph for Duke. Got it first try.
Nice job, sir. Very, very well done. Bobby Weinbarger gave us this, and I enjoy this. He said, Duke feasts on fowls while bird hunting in the Meadowland. He spelled fouls both F-O-W-L-S and F-O-U-L-S. The foul situation and the free throws were a big part of Duke winning this game.
I have one from Mark Slavic, who said, New York may have been foggy, but Duke passed the test with 17 assists.
My last one, Mark Esselstein. This is very nicely done. KU nearly KOs Duke with physical defense, but Slim slams the Jayhawks with a haymaker 3. That 3-pointer from Isaiah Evans is a story in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the final one that I have that I think we both liked from Dave Jordan, Boozers Rock and Showtime Slim Chalks as Duke drops Jayhawks on their badungadunks.
I love that. The badungadunks. I love that. That's very, very
When you
clever.
say badungadunk, I got to use it.
Yeah, exactly. Well done. Well done, Dave. All right. So we also had one comment that was sent to us from Joe Nagy, who was at the game. And we love it. Look, folks, when you're at one of these games, not so much in Cameron. Obviously, there are a fair number of you who go, but if you're at one of these games in a foreign arena and you've got some observation, please send it to us at dbrpodcast@gmail.com. We got one from Joe, and he said he thought the crowd in MSG, in Cameron North, as it's known, he thought the crowd was very tame. He said the energy was poor. There were a lot of empty seats. I think a lot of that is probably Kentucky fans who left after their game, especially because the Kentucky-Michigan, we're not going to get into it, but the Kentucky-Michigan State game was really, really, it was, there are headlines all over the place about the crisis happening right now at Kentucky with Mark Pope and his post-game news conference. Donald, if we had an extra hour, we could go.
I'm not even struggling with that. We go to Breslin Center in a couple of weeks, right? So this is going to be. Watching that Michigan State game, I'm like, okay, well, that preview's just got a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, exactly. But Joe, we appreciate you letting us know that. Hey, folks, all of you up in the Northeast who go to these Duke games, got to bring more energy. Joe says you got to bring more energy.
Well, it's also the way they set this up for people who have not been to Champions Classic. Jason, no, you went last year, but you've been to a few. I've been to a few.
Yeah.
It's set up kind of like a Sweet 16, Elite 8 situation where each school gets X amount of tickets. It's not like, yes, it's called Cameron North, but it's not like Duke got access to the entire arena. So we probably would have filled it, right? When we play Texas Tech next month, I think we have more access to the tickets, even though it's some sort of Sentinel Classic. We are controlling the tickets for that game. So Texas Tech will still get some, but we'll get most of the arena, and that will be a little bit more lively of an affair. But for this one, it's kind of like you have your sections. Kentucky fans seem to buy any ticket that they can find. They like to show up only for their game and go home. It's very weird in that regard. So, yeah, it's more important for the Duke fans to bring the energy. But I'll tell you this, the energy that was coming on the court was one of grit and determination, and that helped fuel this victory.
Yes, and so let's get to the good from this game. I may surprise you, Donald. The thing I want to start with in the good is a kid named Caden Boozer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah. So first of all, stop me if you've heard this before. Caden Boozer led the Duke team in plus minus. He was plus 17. One of our listeners, Brian O'Malley, sent in a note, and I thought this was a very interesting observation by Brian. He said, Duke keeps on getting off to these slow starts this year, and this game was another game where that happened. He said, maybe that's because Caden isn't in the starting lineup. That's a really interesting observation because again and again and again, we're seeing Caden as one of the top guys on the team in terms of plus minus. Plus minus is noisy. It is a difficult statistic to rely on. There are so many things that go into it. We always talk about small sample size with plus minus, blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, we're now 5 games in, and Caden, it just seems like again and again and again, especially in these really competitive games, Caden is the guy on the floor when Duke is playing the best. So, and by the way, it's very interesting to me to note that down the stretch in this game, winning time, and this was Duke's most competitive game. We were playing, this was a 5-point game throughout like almost the entire final 10 minutes of the contest. Caden Boozer was in the game that whole time. He may be the 6th, 7th man, but he was playing alongside the starters for the entire stretch period. By the way, Dame Sarr was the guy who was not in during that stretch. We were playing Caden alongside Caleb Foster on the wing. And talking about Caden, I mean, that little flurry he had. Look, there's 12 minutes left in this game. Everyone knows what I'm talking about, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. 12 minutes left in this game. It was 54-49. Duke had no Cameron Boozer, no Isaiah Evans, no Dame Sarr, and no Caleb Foster. It was all subs. And Caden Boozer, and like you looked at the lineup, you're like, well, where are we getting offense from this lineup? And Caden Boozer on back-to-back possessions went into the lane with tough drives to make huge, huge buckets. I cannot overstate how important those were at a time when Kansas was coming back. You felt the Kansas momentum, and he single-handedly stopped it on back-to-back possessions. There was winning time, and we'll talk about Isaiah's 3 and all the other stuff that happened at winning time. But man, with 12 minutes left, it was a big moment, and Caden Boozer rose that moment in a very big way.
This is probably the first game, and maybe there's going to be many of these. It was the first game for Caden Boozer so far in his young career where the stat line doesn't reflect the impact he had on the game. 7 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 turnover. Like, these decent numbers, but the impact that he made on the team throughout the second half especially, I thought was terrific. You mentioned the fact that there was a large stretch of time where we had both Caleb Foster and Caden Boozer in there. But Caden Boozer was kind of the guy holding the ball, started engineering the offense, while Caleb Foster was kind of running around. The one thing, Jason, that I saw from Caden Boozer last night was not on the offensive end. It was the defensive end where he, again, wasn't getting a ton of steals. He wasn't like getting deflections, but he was keeping in front of his man and making it where shots were difficult. Whoever he was guarding had a difficult decision with the basketball. And I think that part is where he stayed on the floor and, again, was able to make that impact. But I was so happy to see him. And also, Jason, when he comes in the game, he's not a guy who's going to come in and says, I need the ball. I need to score my 15 points. I need to get my 10 rebounds. He does whatever is necessary for what the team gathers. If he needs to shoot a 3, cool. If he needs to drive the lane like he did, cool. If he needs to just pass the ball around like John Stockton and just wait for somebody else to hit a 3 or get a shot, that's also cool. He has an egoless approach to the game so that whenever he comes in, he gives what the team needs. And I think that is why his plus minus is up there, because every time he's in there, he's making an impact in the areas that the game needs for Duke to be successful.
All right, let me take you to the next person that we're going to talk about, and that is Cameron Boozer. 18 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists in a game where, frankly, I think everyone and their brother would be like, yeah, it was kind of, sort of a B- game from Cam. How does dude go 18, 10, and 5 in a B- game? I mean, what?
John Shire said that. John Shire said, he's like, far be it for me to tell you that I don't think Cam had his best game with 18 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. Like,
exactly. He's kind of bonkers. And Don, I'll let you go into depth on him, but the stat they flashed at the end of this game, just outrageous. Cameron Boozer is the first ACC player since March of 2006 to have 100 points, 50 rebounds, and 20 assists over the span of 5 games. Now, I didn't say the first freshman. the first player since 2006. I want you to think about how many great players have been in the ACC since 2006. Think about how many statistical monsters we've had in the league since 2006. Also, I didn't say 5 games at the start of the season. It's 5 games anywhere you want in the entire season. Any seniors, guys who dominate, playing against 5 patsies in the middle of November and December, did not do what Cameron Boozer has done over the first 5 games of his career. Like, it's worth noting, 100 points, 50 rebounds, 20 assists. That's because he's only played 5 games. It is, I mean, it's just scary to think about. There are, we talked about this a little bit on the stats game. I was talking about this a bit as I was putting out some outrageous numbers that I expected Cameron Boozer to get this season. And I said, I'm not saying he's going to be the best Duke freshman, Duke player, we've had in a long time. Good Lord, we had Cooper Flagg just last year. Paolo Banchero just like 3 years ago. Zion Williamson is still very, very fresh in our minds, on and on and on. But statistically, Cameron Boozer, I keep on saying Caden, I'm sorry. Cameron Boozer, yeah, exactly. Cameron Boozer statistically may be an outlier beyond any one of those guys, just in terms of the number of counting stats he puts up in a game.
Yeah, I mean, even if you go further back, right, Vernon Carey Jr., Marvin Bagley III, like the numbers that he's putting up are rivaling theirs. And he, as you mentioned, he's kind of surpassing all of them, which is tremendous, especially in the first 5 games. I think the one thing about Cam is, like we said, everyone in the gym, all his coaches, maybe even Cam himself was like, this is not his best game. And still, I'm thinking about the stats game, and I'm thinking, who had the high end of the 10-5-5s? I think I said 30, because he might get 30 by himself. Because if a B plus game for him is 18, 10, and 5, then he's not going to have many B plus games. He's going to have a lot more A games.
No, I said B minus. That was a B minus game from him. That wasn't a B plus. I mean, I want to be clear about something. I was kind of going to say this for the bad, but I'll go ahead and save it now.
Save it for the bad, because I got some stuff for him that we can talk about bad. So we'll save that. Okay. Let's talk about the positives. This is the good part of the section. But no, Jason, I think what his ability to pass the ball is what makes this team, has made this team so great so far. But it's not just him. It's the way that the big men find each other. If you think about a lot of his assists so far this year have been to Pat Gongba, have been to Malik Brown. Pat Gongba, a lot of his assists have not been out to the 3-point line. It's been finding Cam Boozer. It's been finding Malik Brown. And even last night, there was a couple of those plays. Now, Cam had an eligible play of the game with a pass that was so dynamite that they had to show up for like 5 minutes. But I think Cam's ability to pass the ball makes him a true triple threat, because he can shoot. He could dribble to the, take you out in the wing. He can shoot the 3. He can shoot that little like turnaround hook from like 5-6 feet. He can even go out to 10 feet if you want to. He can also put it to the floor and go to the rack and get a basket, get a foul. He can backdoor cut, which is why he's gotten a couple of those games. I think Caden fed him late in the game with a backdoor cut where he was wide open and he didn't even throw it down. He just laid it in calmly for the last of his 18 points. But he has that ability, and then he has the ability to pass. And the fact that he's so tall, and we're, as a tall team, the fact that we're able to see the floor is why we're able to get 17 assists. And we're kind of like, we could have had a lot more if we had made more baskets. But the way that they move the ball, led by the big men going together, and Cam being kind of the focal point of that, because as the guy with the ball on most possessions, if you can't pass the ball, then all of a sudden the teams are going to kind of, bear down on you. And the fact that he has the passing skill to lead a team in assists, he has that ability to open a floor up even when he does have the ball, which is why all these guys are able to make these big plays.
All right, as we continue on with the good, time to talk about Slim. Showtime, Isaiah Evans, 16 points in this game, 3 assists, 3 of 7 on his 3-pointers, 5 of 11 overall. I want to note that I feel like Isaiah is getting better, and every single game getting better and better about taking the ball to the rim and being more varied in his offensive attack. And he had just absolute dagger crushing, like just destroy your soul 3-pointer against Kansas with the shot clock at just 2 seconds in an incredibly tight ball game. It was one of those shots that, he buried it from the corner. It's one of those shots that you go, oh, well, I guess we're not going to win when the guy hits one of those. He also had a huge shot just before halftime to give Duke a little more breathing room. The other thing I wanted to mention about Isaiah is that I feel like, look, he is nowhere near Caleb Foster or Dame Sarr, but I feel like he's getting better on defense. Isaiah has clearly worked on his defense. He is moving his feet better. He's getting his body really nicely square to his man. He's not reaching or anything like that. Donald, there was a foul that they called. There was a drive by Trey White, who had an outstanding game for Kansas. Congrats to Trey White, one of the best games of his career. There was a foul they called. Trey White was being guarded by Isaiah, and Trey kind of threw himself into Isaiah's body, and they called a foul on Isaiah. It's a terrible call. It's just beyond awful. I watched a replay of it several times, including a baseline replay where you could really see where these two players were and where the contact was initiated. Isaiah was in legal guarding position. I think that Isaiah got that foul because he doesn't have a good defensive reputation. I'm not saying that the refs consult their little handbook or anything like that before every play, but let's be honest, let's be clear. There's some guys who develop a reputation for, that guy's in the right place at the right time all the time, and there's some guys who develop a reputation for they're not really a great defender. And Isaiah, one of the reasons I'm excited about the progress he's making on defense is that that's the kind of call that he's not getting now, that I bet you he will start to get in January, February, and especially March as his reputation improves, as referees start to understand this guy's actually positioning himself well. This guy knows what he's doing on defense. I cannot overstate how important it is for Isaiah Evans to become a better defender because he's already one of the most lethal offensive players in the entire ACC.
I want to combine, I think Slim's performance last night encapsulates this next point that I'm going to make. That we had some Showtime pizzazz combined with some Blue Devil grit. That's how we came back from the little deficit we had early in the game and really stormed back to that 17-5 lead at halftime, and how we were able to really be in control in the second half, despite the fact that it was very close until the last couple of minutes. When you're playing at the Mecca, when you're playing at the Garden, you want somebody to go off. That's part of what playing at the Garden is all about. You want
I love it.
If you think about the NBA, like every time Jordan came or LeBron or Curry, they always were like, nah, we need them to drop 50 in the Garden. Now, we weren't asking for Slim to do that, but Slim provided those moments. The dunk on the 3-quarter pass from Cam, the 3-pointer at the end of the first half where he knew it was going in. If you watch that angle, Jason, he
turns.
Immediately turns to the and finds the Duke camera, right? Like there's a Duke camera on the sideline. He immediately turns right to him and does his 3-point celebration as the ball goes in, a la Steph Curry. And then at the end, that 3-pointer, the late in the game one where he hit the to beat the shot clock. The pizzazz, you needed that. The defensive part you're talking about is the grit that I think this team overall had to display. Kansas was physical with us.
Were they? Boy, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll talk a little bit about that and the things to improve, but we didn't get a slow start like we normally did. We got a decent start, but it was the fact that the intensity level wasn't quite there yet, and we were allowing Kansas to get out on the break. But Slim, his defense is why he's going to be able to play 30 minutes. Last year, he couldn't play 30 minutes because while he was hitting his shots, he was kind of a sieve on defense at times, and is like, okay, we can't keep you on the floor if you're not going to stay in front of your man. Now he's doing that, and I think part of that reputation is going to be they look at that call, that one foul that you mentioned, where it felt like the contact was initiated by the offensive player and not by Slim. Referees are going to look at that and they're going to say, okay, that was on us. We did not give him the benefit of the doubt that we give other players, and because of that, we charged him a foul that probably shouldn't have been a foul for him. Maybe could have even gone the other way, or you just call it a no frills, no contact, whatever. But now that benefit of the doubt will be extended to him a little bit more next time. And he will be in a position to take advantage of that because I think of everything that has improved over the course of the summer, his defense has probably improved the most because this team is priding itself on the defense pacing the offense. And he knows that if he is in a good spot to play defense, he's going to be in a better spot to score on the other end. Case in point, that 3-quarter pass, Jason, that Cam got to Slim for the dunk in the first half, it was compliments of the only block in the game, which was courtesy of Slim. Slim got the block.
Yeah.
Cam got the rebound. Because he got the block, he knew, whoo, I'm gone. And Cam threw a pitch-perfect pass, and that play happened because of a defensive stand from Isaiah Evans, not because of something he did offensively.
I love it. Hey, next player, Patrick Gungba.
Yep.
Big Pat, 4-4 from the field, 13 points, a plus-minus of +13, best on the team. And I just want to say that I thought Pat battled, in the second half especially, he battled the Kansas big men really, really well. Duke had a rebounding edge in this game. The final number was Duke 41 rebounds, Kansas 30. Duke out-rebounded Kansas by 11 rebounds. Kansas is a team, by the way, that loves to just throw the ball at the rim and then go, let's go grab it.
But they only had especially
8. They only had 8 offensive rebounds in this game. Duke wins second chance points, 15-13. Duke had 13 offensive rebounds. Kansas only had 8. But I really think, I know Pat had a total of 7 rebounds. It felt like it was way more than that. And one of the reasons it felt like that was because I repeatedly saw Pat boxing out like they're big rebounders and letting someone else grab the ball, playing really unselfish basketball. He would clear out the threat, and then, an Isaiah or a Caleb or Kate, whoever else it was, would get that rebound. And Pat was like, doesn't matter to me. I just care about Duke getting the rebound and us going the other direction.
It's very funny, Jason. I was looking at this because I was looking at the plays, for later on for plays of the game and looking at some of these different ones. I think we have to make a correction to the Duke staff. I think Pat only had 6 rebounds and Cam had 11 because on the play that I mentioned, the 3-quarter pass where Cam catches the air ball off the block.
Yeah.
Pat was credited with that rebound somehow in the official box score. I don't know. I had to watch the play like several times.
What?
Was it tipped or something? No, it was a caught clean. So, but I think that goes to show you of like, again, when we talk about benefit of the doubt, they're like, oh, Pat or Cam came down with that, one or the other. Let's just, credit whoever. But I think when it comes to Pat, the physicality that he presented is why we got back into this game. The physicality that he continued to have in the second half is why we won that game. And one of the plays I thought was terrific, again, another candidate for play of the game, was that pass where Slim was in the lane and he kind of threw up an alley-oop that looked very off balance, but Pat was able to go grab it with one hand and throw it down.
Oh, that was sick.
Jason, I was in the bar after the soccer game. I was watching the game and had them turn a screen tint for me. And when that play happened, I just go, "Ooh, stuff!" Like everyone in the bar was like, "What happened?" I was like, "We about to win." Like Pat's making those plays. I think we were up like 7 or 8 at that one point. But again, it was like a 3 to 5 point game for much of that second half. That really started to put it out of reach. And I liked the fact that physically he went after it without, getting into full foul trouble. And if we keep him on the floor, like it's clear, right? Evan Miyakawa, again, has a time machine. He's a sorcery because he said.
Oh, you're going to do this stat now? This is an incredible stat.
No, not the stat, but I'm just saying, like, this guy said that the second best player on this team this projected was going to be Pat Gungba. And we're like, we even brought him on here, like, explain yourself. So far, the time machine is right because Big Pat, when he is in this game, he can affect it in so many ways. And the big men, how they play off of each other, makes it where everyone feels a lot more open to take their shots. And even without that, right? He's second or third on the team in scoring almost every single night. Second or first in rebounds. He gets his blocks. He didn't get any last night, but he's still affecting, the defense on the interior, and he's making up for some of the deficiencies that he showed last year. and you could see the growth that he's had. So I'm really loving what I'm seeing from him.
All right, so I was going to save this for a little bit later on, but I'll do it now. Something that Evan Miyakawa tweeted out last night, X'd out, I don't know, what the hell you call it these days, whatever, posted to social media. And this is about foul trouble in Duke. And it's worth noting, Big Pat picked up 4 fouls in this game. But this game was a physical street fight. You know, I don't blame him for getting in a little bit of foul trouble in this contest. But Duke did a great job of not getting in foul trouble in a game where foul trouble mattered a lot to Kansas. It was very significant, especially in the first half, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But Duke ends up taking 26 free throws. Kansas only takes 14. And the key number that Evan Miyakawa posted about was this. He said that Duke committed exactly 15 fouls in this game. Donald, get ready for the number. When Duke commits 15 or fewer fouls in the Jon Scheyer era, 15 fouls, Duke's record is 56-2. What? 56-2 when Duke commits 15 or fewer fouls. That is a 97% win rate. When Duke commits more than 15 fouls, 16 or more, Duke's record's just 38-20. That's a 65% win. And look, Duke is a team that usually wins. You know, we're a team that wins 80+% of our games. There may be no statistic more correlated to Duke's victory than how many fouls we commit. I'll give you the number again. 15 fouls. If Duke comes in at 15 or less, they win 97% of the time. If they commit more than 15, they only win 65% of the time. That is an amazing, amazing statistic.
And it goes to show you, right? Stay out of foul trouble. You stay on the court. Our players are more talented than most teams that we face. So if those guys are on the court, we're going to win the ball game. If they play, you know, if they're on the court to be able to play Duke basketball, we're going to win. And now the haters out there will say, oh, well, it's because Duke gets all the calls. I mean, fouls are one thing, but again, teams are playing us physical, and we're still remaining in control. So the fact that we were able to, as physical as Kansas played last night, to walk out of there not being really in foul trouble across the team, like that's a really big achievement because it shows that we're playing within ourselves and we're also playing good defense, which has been what this team has been standing on all year.
All right, I'm about to make everybody who's listening to me smarter. All right, folks, are you ready to get smarter? So I'm about to tell you about a gentleman named Brian Geisinger. He has a Substack. He has a newsletter called Split the Action. And Brian does a lot of very sophisticated analysis of college basketball. And he loves Duke. He most of his newsletters are about Duke. Split the Action is the name of this Substack. And Brian put out one today that I was just like, I got to talk about that for a second. He has these video clips of Malik Brown. That's who I'm talking about now, Malik Brown. And what he's pointing out is the way Malik Brown is a sneaky screener that you don't even know. Look, this is not something that's ever going to end up in a box score. Malik Brown's a guy who averages 6.4 points per game, 3.4 rebounds per game. He is the anti-Cam Boozer. He is a non-stat stuffer. Mm-hmm. His impact on the game goes so far beyond any statistic. We talk all the time about the way he helps on defense, the way he causes havoc on defense, the deflections and things like that. You know what we don't talk about enough that I'm about to point out for you? The way he screens. Brian Geisinger on Split the Action put a couple clips on his newsletter about these screens where Cam recognizes things, you know, a heartbeat or two before they are actually going to happen. And he steps in a way that causes extra space for Duke guys. He steps in a way so that suddenly Isaiah Evans or Dame Sarr is wide open for a three-pointer on the perimeter. And you're like, how did they leave that guy alone? They left him alone because the guy who was supposed to be guarding him didn't notice that Malik Brown was about to get in his way. Or you're watching a play and suddenly Caleb Foster has a wide open layup. And you're like, wow, how'd they let Caleb go all the way to the bucket? Caleb went to the bucket because 2 seconds before Caleb went to the bucket, Malik Brown stepped in front of a guy and screened him, and suddenly that guy had no angle to get to the bucket to stop Caleb Foster. These are things that will never, ever, ever show up in a box score. But they are huge keys to winning again and again and again. If you watch Duke basketball, take a moment sometimes and just watch Malik Brown and watch the way he's using his IQ and recognition for the game to be in the right place at the right time, not to help himself, but to help his teammates.
Deflections, also another thing that they're never going to count because he would have, 50 of them they'd be some stat like, oh, Malik Brown beat his old record of like 50 deflections in one game because that's what he does. But I think with the screens, it's also about the execution, right? These guys know, they practice so much about where they are on the court and how and where they like being to be the most successful, right? Like if we want somebody to dunk the ball, we don't want them 35 feet from the basket. We want them in front of the rim so they can catch the ball and dunk it. And the idea is, I was a point guard. Buzzing the shoulder is an incredible thing that you have to learn. It's something that you can easily say, yeah, I'm able to do that, but it's harder to do it in practice when there's a defender in front of you. Being able to buzz the shoulder means that there's no angle for your defender to follow you. And there's been times where it requires a good set pick. And when the pick is set or the screen is set, if it's in the right place and you're able to buzz that shoulder, it's the greatest feeling because on the other side of that wall is daylight. And there's so many times where, like you said, you see, I think even on Cam Boozer, like there's been plays where Cam goes to the basket and all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's nobody there to meet Cam at the rim because they were all cleared out by somebody on a screen. And usually, as you mentioned, is Malik Brown. Those little things are what makes the offense more efficient. Jason, that puts you in a position to make those shots that I know that you like metrically, like right at the rim or three pointers. Those things that are very cool metrically, those are the shots that you get from good screens and from people running backdoor cuts and from people executing an offense. And also, again, the ball handler sometimes needing to buzz the shoulder of the guy who's setting that screen because, again, on the other side of that wall is daylight. And the only way that there could be a defender waiting for you is if there's help coming, which means somebody's open in the corner for a three, or the person defending you fouls either you or the person doing the screen. Either way, we're going to the line. We're having an opportunity to get points.
All right, Donald, I want to get from the players to some other big themes from this game. The first one is this. It's ball control. Donald, I talk about Evan Miyakawa has his 15 fouls as a huge benchmark for Duke. I've talked about in the past 12 turnovers. To me, that is a defining line for Duke Blue Devil basketball. If we commit 12 turnovers or less, Duke tends to win the game. And if it's more than 12, then things get to be in trouble. So in the first half of this game, Donald, Duke had 6 turnovers. We were on course to that 12, but it was going to be close. Well, in the second half, Duke only had 2 turnovers. For the game, a season-low 8 turnovers in this contest. And it was a good thing, too, because Kansas also only had 8 turnovers in this game. Both teams valued the ball, worked for good shots as much as they possibly could, and passed the ball really well. Duke had 17 assists on 27 made buckets. That's an assist rate of 63%. Kansas, by the way, had 15 assists on 26 buckets, 58%. Very similar. Both these teams did not turn the ball over. Both these teams worked the ball into good position to get good shots. But I just wanted to mention in that second half especially, the most tense, the closest half that Duke has had all season long, Duke only has 2 turnovers. Big credit there to Caleb Foster and Caden Boozer especially, who are the guys with the ball in their hands more than anybody else.
And in the first half, the reason why Kansas was able to put so many points on the board early was off of the turnovers. Like they beat us on fast break points because they were getting turnovers and getting out in the break, and they were making shots and getting points that way. So once we cleaned that up, that, again, that faucet was shut off, and they had to figure out another way to get points. And I think the idea that we were able to take care of the basketball is great. The 17 assists, me, 63%. Cool. I'm cool with that number. Like if it's closer to 70%, you're in the ballpark, but that's a difference in this case of like maybe 1 or 2 shots. But I think the idea that our defense was able to play clean defense, we were able to take care of the basketball on offense. That helped us get back into this ball game because we had opportunities on every possession to get buckets. And it wasn't like we were throwing points down the drain by throwing it to the other team. I think that's an important stat. That 12 turnover thing has been proven right? Like every time it's very rare that we get more than 12 turnovers and win ball games. But this was one where taking care of the basketball was one of the main reasons why we were able to win this basketball game.
All right, last thing I have in the good, Donald, is the bench play. Duke wins bench points in this game, 18-5. And I thought that, even though we haven't talked about them extensively, I thought Nick Homenia and Darren Harris both they didn't play a lot. Nick gets 12 minutes, Darren gets 7 minutes. Both of them, their minutes were somewhat limited in the second half. But I thought they both did a very nice job when they were in there. It's worth noting that Darren Harris in his 7 minutes had a plus-minus of +7. So Duke played really well when Darren was in there for this game. But the reason I wanted to mention the bench minutes, as I said, Duke outscored the Kansas bench 18-5. You saw how much the lack of depth impacted Kansas. And of course, this is a function partially of Darren Peterson not being available. Everything on Kansas, their rotations get squeezed. When you have a guy that good who is probably ordinarily going to play 35-plus minutes in this game and he doesn't play at all, suddenly you're having to make up for that. But there was one specific stretch that I wanted to note. This happened in the first half. They put in a kid named Jamari McDowell. I'm not sure if you noticed this or not, Donald. You probably didn't notice. You were at a bar. He's a redshirt sophomore in his third year at the Kansas program. He came in the game, and for some reason, the camera lingered on him for a second. The announcers mentioned him. I looked at this dude, and I'm like, deer in headlights. My man is terrified to be on this stage at this moment. He may be at Kansas for his third year. And by the way, he redshirted last year, 2 years ago as a freshman. He played in 30 games. It's not like this guy has no experience. But I looked at him and I was like, my man is not in the place he wants to be right now.
There's always one.
Yeah, totally overmatched. He immediately, he gets the ball on the perimeter. Duke kind of deked at him a little bit. He immediately traveled. He went to pass the ball. There was a Duke defender running to the gap in the lane. He was like, he immediately traveled. Next time down, he got switched onto Pat Gongba. The Duke team, I think I saw the entire team scream, "Throw it to Pat!" This poor guy got stuck on Pat, and he's not small. He's like 6'5", 6'6". He got stuck on Pat Gongba. They got the ball to Pat. Pat immediately scored, almost laughing at this poor guy. A couple seconds later, Duke got another bucket. It was a fast break. I forget exactly how it happened, but Kansas immediately called timeout and took Jamari McDowell out of the game. His box score. Get ready for it. Here's some big numbers for you. Kid plays 52 seconds. He had 1 turnover. He had 1 just totally ineffective defensive possession, and he was -4 in 52 seconds. I just looked at this poor guy's performance, and I went, that wouldn't happen to Duke because we have one of the deepest benches in college basketball, and I thought our bench guys really deserve some praise. Again, not big counting stats, not a lot of stuff that you would look in the stat book and say, oh, that guy really came out and really did it. It was that these guys were an integral part of Duke playing good defense, Duke playing good, smart offense. They got some tiling plays, and this was a full 9-man effort to win this game over the Kansas Jayhawks.
And everybody playing, I think Darren Harris was at 7 minutes, Nick Homenia at 12 minutes, but there's only Cam Boozer exceeded 30 minutes. And so if you think about last year, we were used to our starters logging 38, 39, 35 minutes. I think if somebody did 33, you're like, wow, what happened? They must have had some foul trouble. And this team is different than that team in the sense that everybody clearly so far this year, we're 5 games in, has the ability to step in and play heavy minutes, right? When we say heavy, we mean at least 15, 20 minutes. Everyone has played in that range so far this year. And because of the fact that he's using all 9 of those guys every game, they're getting the confidence too. Darren Harris is not going to have 7 minutes a game the rest of the season. He's going to come in at some point. He's going to go off from 3, and we won't be the least bit surprised at that because all these guys have been building up for this, these kind of moments when we play these big games, and there's still several more to play. Who knows where everything is going to come from. And the fact that our bench is able to step up at a moment's notice, if we're in foul trouble, if somebody is not having a great night, they can all contribute in different ways. And I think that versatility of the bench means that, some games we're going to have it where they're only scoring 6 or 7 points. There's going to be some games where they score 30, and we've had both of those outputs. But the way they contribute is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, by the way, John Shire noted that every single player on the team who got in the game scored a basket. Or had points, I should say. Darren Harris had free throws. But regardless, the fact of the matter was Duke got contributions in the scoring column from every single guy on the roster who played in this game. All right, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, the things to work on and the big debate, what was the play of the game? We'll have that in just a moment.
This is a real good story about Bronx and his dad, Ryan, real United Airlines customers.
We were returning home, and one of the flight attendants asked Bronx if he wanted to see the flight deck and meet Captain Andrew.
I got to sit in the driver's seat.
I grew up in an aviation family, and seeing Bronx kind of reminded me of myself when I was that age.
That's Andrew, a real United pilot.
These small interactions can shape a kid's future.
It felt like I was the captain.
Allowing my son to see the flight deck will stick with us forever.
That's how good leads the way.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kann du Norsk?
If you used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world, with lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers. Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Spotify. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify. Rules and restrictions may apply.
I turned off news altogether.
I hate to say it, but I don't trust much of anything.
It's the rage bait.
It feels like it's trying to divide people.
If we got clear facts, maybe we could calm down a little.
NBC News brings you clear reporting. Let's meet at the facts. Let's move forward from there. NBC News, reporting for America.
I use Shipt same-day delivery to stay connected with my sister during the holidays. She lives across the country. Shipt has tons of stores to order from. Groceries from Albertsons, crafts from Michael's, even pet supplies from PetSmart. The list goes on. So when we have long-distance movie nights, I turn to Shipt to get face masks, snacks, and everything else we need delivered to her and to me same day. Download the app or visit Shipt.com. That's SHIPT.com.
All right, we're back from the break here on the DBR podcast, the Duke Basketball Roundup. Jason and Donald. Donald, I'll start with this. I thought it wasn't a super slow start for Duke, but it wasn't a great start. But the more significant thing to me was early on, first 5, maybe even 7 minutes of this game, Kansas was outworking Duke. They were getting more rebounds. They were getting easier buckets. It just looked like Kansas was a little more ready for the moment than Duke was. You agree, disagree?
I have my first thing is we let Kansas be the runners for a while in the first half. Like they controlled the tempo. They controlled, again, the physicality. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But they had the fast breaks that really took momentum away from us. And then Cameron North, they did a great job, credit to them, of getting out to a decent start in the sense that they took that momentum. And you mentioned the person at the top who said, oh, the crowd was just lacking with regards to energy. That's credit to Kansas. In that first 5 to 7 minutes, Kansas really took a lot of energy away from the Duke fans that were waiting for something to happen that they can cheer about and really bring some energy. Kansas was the dictators of and the controllers of the tempo, and it took us a while to get into that part. I think I agree with you. We didn't have a slow start, but it wasn't the best start, and I think it's always something we can work on.
Yeah, for sure. And you talk about Kansas and what they did well. I thought they were very pesky on defense, Kansas was. They got a number of deflections and steals that led to runouts. You talked about that. But I also noticed they were extending their man defense, and it was bothering Duke. Duke was having trouble getting in their offense a lot early on in this game. I think that affected Caleb, but it didn't affect Caden quite as much. And I think one of the reasons you saw Caden Boozer playing more in the second half was that John Shire recognized that Caden was a little better prepared to handle that Kansas pressure, even though he's just a freshman. And speaking of, we're talking about Kansas defense, but I want to talk about the Duke defense for a moment. I thought we got kind of fortunate. Kansas missed some three-pointers that they might have otherwise made. This is not a great three-point shooting Kansas team, not by any stretch of the imagination. But they worked themselves into position to get some good threes, and they did not knock them down. And a better shooting team might have made Duke pay for some slightly blown defensive assignments. The other thing I wanted to mention on the defense is anyone who sort of says, Caleb Foster, I'm not sure about, why are we starting him? Like, is he really all that valuable? Defense. Caleb Foster matters, and I'm talking about the explosion that Melvin Council had for Kansas in the middle of the second half. He almost single-handedly brought them back into this game. And Melvin Council was just getting downhill. He was getting to the rim, getting in the lane. Really, really impressive use of speed and bounce and things like that. I watched that, Donald. That started, that continued. That was almost exclusively when Caleb Foster was not in the game. Dame Sarr wasn't in the game either. I think Melvin Council looked up and he saw no CFOS, no Dame, pterodactyl arm Sarr. And Melvin Council went, well, I'm going to take who's ever guarding me to the rim. And look, I'm not saying that Caden Boozer's defense is bad. It's not awful, but it's not nearly where the point that Caleb is. And I think the major thing holding Caden back from being on the floor even more is that Caleb Foster is such a better defender, and you really need that sometimes. And Melvin Council made Duke pay at times for having CFOS on the bench.
So it kind of leads me to something that, again, not a trend, but something that I feel that this Duke team needs to really be effective on defense. We had just 2 steals and 1 block as a team last night. The 1 block I mentioned was Isaiah Evans, so it wasn't like Big Pat or Cam down low or even Malik down low. It was Slim on a 3-pointer, and we just had 2 steals. And again, that could be credit to Kansas for the following reason. I think that Tennessee exhibition game helped us last night because the word is now out. If you want to frustrate Duke, be physical on offense and defense. The way, as you mentioned, the Council was getting to the lane, the way that Trey White was, getting inside.
Yep.
On defense, they were kind of, again, checking us at like the 35-foot mark instead of the 30-foot mark. They were doing things that were frustrating us, and we were able to overcome it because we had seen it before against Tennessee. We even saw it in stages against Texas. So we've had that experience to overcome physicality, but we weren't able to counteract it with physicality of our own until the second half. And I think that part may have been the slowest thing to really generate, was how do we, not the intensity, but just the actual physicality of absorbing contact, guys being in their face, running around on screens and trying to get open with guys right there on you. How do you counteract that, but also save your legs for these shots? We didn't shoot well because Kansas was trying to beat us down physically, and that tires you out. So a lot of the shots that we were taking, especially some of them in the second half, after that run kind of concluded, were a little slow. They're a little short because we didn't have the legs. And that, again, it's early in the season. I'm not expecting that to continue. But I do think that being physical is something that we're going to have to expect from these bigger teams and these better teams as we move along, because they know that is how they frustrate Duke. And on a good day for them, maybe they can catch us. But that's going to be part of the equation when we play the Arkansas, when we play the Floridas, when we play UNC and Louisville, and even some teams in the ACC who have the guys, the trees that they can throw at us. Physicality is going to be a part of that equation, and we just need to be able to meet that physicality on a nightly basis.
All right, last thing I have in the needs improvement category has to do with missing shots. And the first part of it is the free throws. Duke ends up hitting 17 out of 26 free throws in this game. 65% is worth noting that there was Big Pat missed the front end of a 1-and-1. So, technically that's even more opportunity that you left at the line. But even more so than just hitting 65%, in the second half, we only hit 58%. We were 7 of 12 at the free throw line. In a close game, you just can't leave those points there. It is something to be concerned about. And then, and something to be concerned about, because I think we're starting to see this as a fairly consistent thing with this Duke team, that this Duke team is not going to be a great free throw shooting team on the season, or at least if they are, they have not shown that thus far for the most part. And then it does go hand in hand, but as long as I'm talking about shooting and missing shots, man, Donald, Duke missed some bunnies. Duke missed some layups. I saw Isaiah. I saw Cam. I swear I thought I saw Pat. The box score has Pat 4 for 4 on field goals. I swear I saw him miss a bunny and grab his own rebound. On that one. What's that?
He might have been fouled on that one, which means it's not doesn't count.
Maybe
as an attempt.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I know I wrote down Pat's missing bunnies too. There's some people out there who've noticed that Cameron Boozer, even though he scored 18 points, he was just 7 of 17 from the field in this game. And people say Cam is struggling to finish at the rim against bigger, longer players. His shot got blocked 3 times in this game. I'm not saying, far be it from me to go 18, 10, and 5 wasn't a good game. Not by any stretch. Not by any stretch of the imagination would I want to say that. But as Duke plays more and more good teams, look, we've got 2 games that's coming up this weekend that are not as tough opponents. Full respect, Brotherhood Run. We'll talk about those guys on another podcast. But after that, Duke goes on a little run of really good, physical, big power conference teams. We're playing Arkansas, Michigan State, Florida, some really good front lines. And Cameron Boozer's got to figure out a little bit of how he's going to be effective against bigger, longer players. He can't just put up the huge statistical, super efficient games when Duke is playing the bad teams.
Cameron Boozer is not Cooper Flagg. Caden Boozer is not Con Knipple. But if these freshmen can take a page from the freshmen that were here last year, is that, as we said many, many times last year, those freshmen were sentinels. They kept learning and applying what they learned to the next game. If something happened that they're like, hey, this was a struggle for us, that team was great at being able to compartmentalize that and say, okay, next time that comes, I'll be ready for it. And they were. Like, throughout the whole season, you could see a similar sequence happened that early in the season they would have maybe run away from or not lived up to that pressure, but they were able to absorb it and embrace it. This is what this team is going to have to do with more, even, as much reliance or even more reliance on freshmen. They're going to have to find that key, right? Take what you learned from this. Cam Boozer, being able to be there and get 10 rebounds despite, missing some shots. Next time, if he has 25 and 7, but it's because he hit a couple more of those layups that he has in front of pressure, that's going to be fine. People are going to take that. We're not going to get on here and rag him because he only had 7 rebounds if he's putting those shots in the first time. That's fine. So I think these guys are going to need to learn like freshmen. But the problem is we have so many big games coming up, is that unfortunately for them, it's a little bit unfair, but they have to apply that learning a lot quicker because there's not going to be a lot of rests between these games with regards to the level of opponent that they're facing.
All right, you ready to do the play of the game, my friend?
I think so, because I still don't know what I'm going to go with. So I'm going to let you go.
Okay, I got 3 nominees. I got 3 that I'm considering. The first one is, of course, Cameron Boozer's outlet pass to Isaiah Evans that was absurd with like 2:41 left in the first half. We've talked about it a little bit. It's just a ridiculous play. The announcers went gaga. Of course they did. It was just a thing of beauty. My second one is, in a 5-point game with just under 9 minutes left, Cam made a great pass to Dame Sarr in the corner, like a full cross-court pass, and Dame goes up for what's functionally an uncontested 3. And he misses it, but Cam just knew exactly where to be to get the offensive rebound. He got fouled on the play. Unfortunately, he missed the free throw. I think this might have been my play of the game if he'd made that free throw. Mm-hmm. But I think I got to go with my third nominee, which is shot clock said 2 seconds. Duke has the ball out underneath. There's 3 minutes and 40 seconds left, and Isaiah Evans it's a 5-point game, Don. With 3:40 left, it's a 5-point game, and Isaiah said, no, it's not. Wait, Jason, no. It's an 8-point game, my friend, because I'm taking a 3-pointer with just 2 seconds left of the shot clock and burying all the hopes of the Kansas Jayhawks. That's my play of the game.
So I'm glad you mentioned that one. I'll mention my
mentioned.
Yep. I'll mention my third nominee, which was I think I mentioned earlier, Slim to Pat for the one-handed alley-oop late in the game that I think extended our lead from 5 to 7 or something like that.
Yes.
Gorgeous play. But I gotta go with Slim on both ends. Block on the 3, again, the lone block of the game.
Yep.
Cam catches the air ball. The phantom rebound, I guess. We'll leave that in the annals of history. The 3-quarter pass to Slim for the dunk, and immediately Kansas called the timeout because they're like, we are bleeding here. We need to stop it. They weren't able to stop it. But that play, again, we needed that energy, and Slim brought it with a Showtime finish, Cam with a Showtime pass, and led by the grit of the defensive end of getting the block and knowing that ball is going towards either Cam or Pat. Either one of them is going to be able to find me down court for an easy 2 points. That was amazing, an amazing play.
You know, you're absolutely right. I've looked at the box score now. They do have Pat Gongba with the defensive rebound. That is just wrong. That is incorrect. The official score does not know what he's talking about.
They'll fix it.
Yeah, that needs to be. Yeah. Hey, anyone from Duke, anyone who has access to the stats, listen to this podcast because there is a 0% chance that Patrick Gongba grabbed that defensive rebound. It was 100% Cam, unless Pat grabbed it and then handed it to Cam. No.
Nope. He didn't touch it on that play, but that's fine. Like I don't think Cam cares about it. He got the assist on the play, and of course he got my play of the game. That's for sure.
And like I said earlier, you know, Pat was doing such a great job of boxing guys out, and other guys get the rebound. So we give Pat one extra rebound. We can live with it.
Benefit of the doubt. See, he's earned it.
Exactly. All right, that's going to do it for us here on the latest edition, episode 771 of the Duke Basketball Roundup. Hey, check your feed. We're going to be back at you probably about 24 hours or so from now. We're going to preview the Brotherhood Run, the 2 big games coming up this weekend. A lot to look forward to for Duke fans. Until then, that is Donald. This is Jason. These are the Duke Blue Devils who just got done playing in Cameron North. And here's the Duke Band playing us out and taking us home.